I'd like to wish a speedy recovery to Barry Curtis. He messed up his wrist, and we just want to wish him quick recovery.
Yep. Nothing but good things, nothing but good wishes for you there, Mr. Barry. And here's hoping that that wrist gets better. So what's up in the wonderful world of Trampled Underfoot Podcast?
Well, a lot of things actually. I don't know how I feel about social media anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you'd think that you'd have pleasant encounters and whatnot, and just, but we have the advent of keyboard warriors out there.
Uh-oh.
And keyboard warriors with attached with Facebook. I mean, so I post a simple frickin' comment, right? Okay. Mind you, I said something to the effect of, "It's hot here. It's hotter than one could bear here in Miami." And in fact, it's hot. Then we have these Macho Man, Randy Savage, and Hulk Hogan people. I'm not going to name their names. But like, there's this whole, I am always surprised. Like, look, I don't have to, like, the tit for tat that people get into, like guys, I could play the game as good as anybody else, but I don't have a need to prove, like here, like let's say here on Trampled Underfoot Podcast, I don't have any need to be extra macho in order to prove that I'm more macho than I call myself the Duke. I'm more macho than you. And it's like, and so these people, a couple of buddies. Oh, by the way, I know it's all in jest and good fun, but just saying the underlying sort of message is like, take it like a champ, And so it's like they're saying, well, over here in my area, it's 1 degree hotter than yours. Oh no, but in my area. And then you get the little Klingons adding their little comments, and it's like a pylon, dude. I'm like, oh, give me a break.
You used to have to walk to school uphill both ways, Yeah.
Yeah. So this uber macho man, I've never felt. Look, even in school, I could tell those kind of people. And by the way, I'm not trying to. This is, but I could tell kids. And guys in general, this is a guy thing.
It is.
It is. It's a guy thing. So I could always tell, and I could see them a mile away, especially with, like, they'll come up to you and they'll sort of offer a question, and you could tell right, like, people we've mentioned this before, but people don't necessarily, they judge how they judge, but they don't know that the other person might be aware of so much more than they could possibly understand at any given moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm aware when I see it coming at me. Believe it or not, I don't know if it's a human trait. It might very well be that it's been evolving through millennia, but I can see it coming.
Yeah.
Whether I choose to attack on it in a certain way or not is because of my particular sort of, but I could be as destructive as the next person in comments and whatnot. But I choose not to.
Oh, yeah. It's the anonymity of the keyboard that makes people, I call it keyboard muscles, flexing their keyboard muscles. It's that anonymity and it's something about it. It happens to me too. And I think it happens to everybody, to be honest, to 1 degree or another. Yeah. But it's that anonymity of a keyboard. You will sit there and you will type things that you wouldn't dream of saying to somebody face to face.
Yeah.
Even when dozens, as we used to say, playing the dozens with your friends and, hey, those shoes stink or what have you. Oh, I froze up again. We got to get this fixed. When you're just sitting there playing the dozen with your friends and just, cutting each other down, I mean, to the bone, it just, there are some things you just don't say. There are some things that are still kind of off limits.
there are things that are off limits, but I'm going to tell you something. There's an actual procedure, and it's like, okay, it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen in the African savannah those Mutual of Omaha, things.
Oh yeah.
And now we see the apes gathering around the wounded ape,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd say, oh, they're about to help the wounded ape, and now they begin to club the wounded
Yeah.
ape,
Rip him apart.
and now and they're all laughing jolly, and so it's like you're thinking to yourself, well, crap, so the thing that you have your little tag on apes that come around, so they're seeing that you're getting trampled, no pun intended, and then they'll come around the corner and they'll say, oh, we're gonna get ours in.
Yeah.
I've got one story about that that I've never told, and I'll just throw it at you.
Okay.
So I've never been a violent person. I don't know if I even needed to be taught it, and I don't know if it's some sort of, I don't know what it is, but it's like I don't have any want to hurt another human being. I don't have the energy to put into hurting another individual. I don't have it doesn't thrill me to do so. I just don't have that. But that said, back when in elementary school, we had a lot of, in school, you always have your bullies.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your cliques and this and that.
Sure.
There was a kid that I was friends with. And when I mean friends, in school, we just hang out here and there and this and that. And you have many of them. Well, after school, we were at the park. And this is a thing of peer pressure, probably. You tell me what you think. We walked to the park, and there was a little bit of a fisticuffs, but kids, right? It wasn't,
Yeah.
And this guy started pushing another guy, that friend of mine. We weren't friends, but we were like, I don't know how to explain it. We were just there, and we're friendly to each other. And they all start kicking him. And I came over. I was a little kid. I came over, and because the group was doing that, I came and I kicked as well, but I didn't kick violently, like playful. And I think that now looking back at that, I was oh, everybody's doing that. And it's like the monkeys getting together and following the thing. And my kicking wasn't kicking like to be abusive. And I didn't know at the time whether it was an aggressive thing or we were playing. I don't know how to justify that, but it's one moment that taught me. He came to me later and he says, some friends of mine said that you were kicking me. And I said to him, I lied. I said, no, I wasn't kicking you. And I wasn't kicking him hard at all. I was just going like that, acting, because I have no want to, and I don't know if it was peer pressure. It sounds like it was peer pressure, but that happened. And after that, I don't know if I learned an internal lesson from that or whatever, but I'm exposing that out here. What do you think about that?
Mob mentality, man. I mean, people see stuff that they wouldn't normally do. They just join in.
Yeah, I felt as a kid not understanding the psychology of it, but I felt bad. Is that you kicking me? And then I thought to myself, they were kicking him for real.
Yeah.
Another time I had a fight with a kid that did not like me for whatever reason in that same park. I fought a lot in that park, actually. And we got into a fight. And I overtook the kid. He was the one initiating. And I overtook the kid. And I pinned his ass down on the ground. And then I saw some older kids that were the cool kids of the block biking. And they as they were passing by, and these were the rockers, right? Like the older kids that went to another school.
Yeah.
They're like, go Eloy, go Eloy. Yeah, man. Because we were from the same block. And I stopped in the middle of the fight to wave my hand. Hey, guys. And the kid that was pinned down also stopped for me to wave.
How do you do that? How did you get just all of a sudden both you? Oh, hi. Where were we? Oh, yeah.
Because there was no actual reason for us to be fighting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And we're just boys doing what boys do. But with
Yeah.
that said, just long story short, that said back then, I can't see a guy going through life with that sort of thing happening. Oh, I'm not, you know how macho I am? I'm going to show you how macho I
A
am.
lot of people do, though, man. A lot
It's
of
so
people do.
stupid,
I
though.
don't get it.
I,
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to show, no, you listen to me, Mark. I'm going to show you that I am macho and you must respect my macho-ness. It's like, okay, I guess, but so yeah. So I just wanted to share that just because I found it funny earlier on. And we're all guilty of everything because we're all human beings and,
Sure.
what the heck, But yeah.
But isn't it weird how social media has retrained us? And we do it to ourselves. We let it happen. It's retrained us. We don't censor ourselves. We're less civil to one another. We're always looking to get that little jab in, even if it's, it's all in fun. Like you said, it's all in jest. But somebody has to try to come out on top.
Oh yeah, that's law.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's law, Mark.
And that's what I mean. We say things on social media that we would never say if the person was standing right next to us.
Well, yeah.
But it's weird how we do that. A lot of guys like to try to flex their intelligence and say, "Oh, well, you did that all wrong. You should have done this, that, and the other." And it's like, dude, you do it.
Look,
I just did. So
look, exactly. I mean, and we all do it to a certain degree and this and that. And I guess it's part of how we are, just as the apes, the males of the tribes and stuff. But I'll give you another example of a thing. See, because sometimes you're not looking for trouble. See, look, I understand when you dig at some, like when you need to get shut down, and if you do get shut down, you deserve it. Like I get that, but if you're not looking for trouble, and people are coming after you, guys, then it's kind of like, okay, what's this all about? So I was working in the Everglades, and it's full of tough guys, or quote unquote tough guys, because they're woodsmen, Evergladesmen, gladesmen, and whatnot. And I'm a dude from Sweetwater, and I start working over there and stuff. There was a one incident where we're sitting in the back of that area where we worked, and there's a bunch of people there drinking beers. I'm hanging out after work, and they're taking chains and using a tree trunk to lift an engine up out of a car that they needed to lift the engine out of, and they were doing this whole procedure. And I was like checking it out because I'd never seen something like that. It looked ridiculous to me because all I could see is it was a thick branch, but
a branch nonetheless.
And yet they were doing it. So to me, I'm watching, and this guy says, I asked a question that shows that I don't know what's going on in the particulars of it, but I asked a question, right? Which I didn't feel any like, oh, if I ask a question, they're going to find out that I don't know the exact procedure. I don't give a crap. I'm asking a question that I'm not thinking in those terms at all. But I guess some people are. And the guy says, oh, no, well, this is and that. You don't know anything about cars, man. You don't know this is. And he was ragging on me. And I had another friend, my friend Les, sitting next to me. And Les was one experienced guy. He was a good friend of mine. And he's sitting there listening. And this guy's ragging on me that I don't know this and this. I don't know. And I am not a person that I didn't think in those terms, but the guy was telling me, yeah, because the engine this, you don't know this and that. And what's happening here is this and that. And I just came back at him. I said, well, yeah, I don't know much about these cars, but I bet you've never played a blues progression in the key of E. And the guy he shut his mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody's ignorant to a certain point. And, it's funny that we still think that we have to prove ourselves like that.
Yeah.
And we have to be better than somebody. Well, you don't know what you're talking about because of this, and this. Okay, well, maybe you know more than I do about that. But how about this over here?
Yeah.
I just don't get that. I just don't get that. But there's also, well, I get it a little bit. I think what that does is covers up some insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Make themselves feel better because there's something there. They just got to feel superior to somebody else. There's some insecurity there, I think.
Well, there's another issue amongst the male, the apes of the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
There's the issue with females. I remember a friend that anytime there was a new female in the vicinity,
mm-hmm.
across the savannah, we see a new female arrive, and now all the chimps are standing upright and
mm-hmm.
flexing their chest, pumping. Well, every time there was a new, I would get word around, as you go around the mountain, as it were, that guy would say, "Oh no, Eloy's not going to this party," or "No, he's not going to be here," or "No," like it was always Eloy. No, oh no, nah, no, Eloy, no, Eloy, no, nah.
What was his thing with you, man?
Well, I'm giving you all the parts of the things that I learned throughout history. It's not like it was concurrent. This is more into the teen era.
Well, that's what I mean. What was this guy's thing with you?
Well, he just wanted to, the obvious thing. He wanted to lower probability of failure.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. You eliminate competition.
Yeah, he was eliminating, and this was a good friend of mine at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he said, "Hey, bud," in his mind, he calculated, he says, "You know what? That's one too many."
Yeah. Eliminate competition. I don't know, man. I'm not that competitive by nature. And like you, I'm not a violent guy. I can count the number of fights I've been in probably on one hand because I don't fight fair. And I don't believe that there are any rules. I mean, I had a bully picking on me. And finally, one day I had it. I was doing some yard work out in front of our house, and he came up behind me. And I'm not a big guy. I'm not an imposing guy. I'm 5'7". So I was about 13 years old, something like that. I don't even know if I was 5'7" yet. And he was 6'1", the tallest kid in the neighborhood. And he came walking by and just slapped me on the back of the head. And I spun around, saw who it was, and I had a flat nose shovel in my hand, and I swung for the heels like I was trying to knock it over the green monster, and caught him across both kneecaps and ran like hell. I don't know if he got up and walked away. I don't know if he rolled or crawled home. I don't know. I ran like hell. And but he never picked on me again. Not once.
I bet.
Never picked on me again. So, it wasn't really a fight, but it eliminated the problem. I don't fight fair.
Well, there's no need to. If you think about it, it's like, my dad always used to love one particular scene. And I remember because he'd sit in bed and he'd cackle when he'd watch. He'd be like, he loved the scene. And it was Indiana Jones and the, what was it? And the one with the first one, Indiana Jones.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It was the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And he loved, that's one thing. I can remember certain things from my old man. And that's one of those things that the concept of him laughing at that scene and why he was laughing at it. And it's the scene when Indiana Jones is trying to get on the plane but this big Moroccan guy or whatever with a big sort of sword is fighting him, and like, you know, Indiana Jones is like, holy crap, now what? Because this guy's like 5 times his size. Well, Indiana Jones pulls out a gun and shoots him, and he goes down. And my dad, at that very moment, he's like, like cracking up, because, you know, my dad did like military service and secret stuff too, which we've talked about. And he wasn't a tall guy,
right?
My dad, but he carried a gun. So to him, it was funny.
I know the scene you're talking about, and interesting that you bring this up. That's my favorite scene in that movie too. It's one of my favorite scenes.
It's such a good scene.
Yeah, the guy comes whipping out a scimitar, and he's spinning it around and doing this, that, and the other, and he stands there and he goes, and Indiana pulls out the pistol and just shoots him. Turns around and walks away. You know, funny part about that scene is that was ad-libbed. There was supposed to be a big old long fight scene.
Oh, that was, man.
And just, you know, Harrison Ford just reached over and pulled out his pistol and shot, you know, and they decided, oh, we got to keep this in. So they just kind of scrapped a scene, and that's what came in.
It was movie magic on so many levels. It's quintessential Americana, in my opinion. Well, it's like, oh, you're big? Sorry, not going to work. Bam.
Well, I take that back. That was not, they went back and they choreographed the scene and reshot it. But the first time, because there was no blank loaded, it was just an empty prop pistol in his, but he pulled it out and went bang like that. And everybody just died laughing. And they said, oh, we got to do that.
It's because it's perfect.
It was excellent. But later on in another movie, it was 2 guys came out in white outfits, because the original movie, the guy was wearing black and he had a red sash and a red band around his turban or something like that. Well, in a later movie, 2 guys came out. They were in white, and they're swinging around scimitars and stuff like that. And he reaches down for his pistol, and it wasn't there. It had dropped out of the holster. And it's like, oh crap! And he turned around and he ran.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
So it was a callback to that gag.
Yeah, they played on that.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, dude. But yeah, Mark. Long story short, you know, we're all faulty and guilty of similar. I mean, because after all, at the end of the day, we're human beings and we share the same similar, you know, variations of situations. But here's the thing: either you're on the receiving end or on the giving end. And anybody that's trying to be neutral, you could try that, but there's always possibility of going one way or the other, and you end up either attacking or being attacked. You know, that's the way of the world, man.
Yeah. But it's interesting that you brought up that movie scene about it being your dad's favorite scene.
Yeah,
because it's something that I was thinking about the other day. About I don't even remember which movie I was watching, but I was standing by. You know, I was walking from room to room. My wife was watching TV, and some movie was on. I don't even remember which movie it was.
Yeah.
And I had to stop because my absolute favorite scene in that movie came up. And then that scene's over, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I could proceed.
Yeah.
And that got me to thinking about favorite movie scenes. Is there a scene in a movie where you just have to stop and watch it? It's one of your favorite scenes in the movie.
Man, there's so many. I'd have to sit that boy, you threw that at me. I'd have to think about that, Mark. I'm not that quick on the draw, but yeah, there's favorite movies that if I hear about it or see nowadays, if I see it, I'll say, oh, I got to see that again. And I know the whole movie. So there's favorite movies, but favorite scenes, I'd have to really dig in, man.
Yeah.
I don't mean to.
Well, no, but I mean, like, for instance, a lot of people would come up and they'd say, oh, the shower scene in the movie Psycho.
Oh, my goodness. That's horrible.
Yeah, I know it is. But if you're into the horror genre or that suspense thriller genre, you know, it's just that quintessential scene, you know.
Yeah.
Or if you're into something like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, it's got to be where King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table
Table.
at the Frenchman in the castle, and he's screaming insults down at him. Lots of people love those scenes. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries. You know, they just throwing insults back and forth at each other. Um, you know, Steve Nealon over here from Harneal Media over here in the live YouTube chat says the president's speech in Independence Day, in the movie Independence Day. That was a pretty cool scene.
Oh, you know what's funny? I don't mean to, but on my end, the updating is not updating as far as the. Oh, now it's updating. Okay. I get the chat as well now with the software, but it wasn't updating, and I touched the bar that slides up and down, and it finally updated. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah. You know, so yeah, the president's speech in Independence Day was a good scene. There's an old movie, and I haven't watched this movie in, oh gosh, probably 20 years. It's an old black and white Danny Kaye movie, and it's called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. And he's this kind of frail, withdrawn, quiet guy who just kind of bumbles his way through life. He daydreams a lot about being assertive and about, you know, being an artist or, you know, working in various different careers where he's known and loved and people just think he's great. But in real life, he's real shy, real timid, real bashful, and never raises his voice or anything. And the scene toward the very end where he just finally gets pushed against the wall and everybody is just harping at him. He finally reaches down deep, pulls up some backbone, tells them all to shut up. One guy starts laughing at him and he just knocks him out. And it's kind of like, yeah, you know, you gotta kind of get jazzed at that because this guy took crap from these people for the entire movie. Got walked on. He was more than a doormat. He was, you know, the pathway to the bathroom. He got stomped on by everybody. And he finally stood up to him. And it's just one of those scenes where you just go, yeah.
Yeah, man. There's something about bullies and being bullied that pisses me off. When someone's a bully for no reason other than they can, because they find the weakness of others, so they shall exploit.
Mm-hmm.
Screw that, man. Yeah. As far as movies, see, I'm having difficulty with scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I think in terms of the whole movie. So I think when you said that, I thought Fright Night. As cheesy of a movie from the 80s as it was, I could still watch it every time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like one of those movies that I could still watch. Yeah, I can't think of particulars.
The whole car chase scene in the movie The Blues Brothers. That it's like a 30-minute car. Well, not a 30-minute. It's probably 10 minutes towards the end of the movie. Where it's just, I mean, there's got to be 100 police cars chasing them into Chicago.
I've seen that movie like 2 or 3 times in my entire life. And
that car chase scene is just probably one of the best there is. It's just hilarious, man. So, well, anyway, you brought it up and I just thought it was fun.
Oh, so, yeah. I mean, see, I think now with using that you're saying, I think of those funny game show fail moments that we see on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so there's some that I've seen already, but that I'll revisit anyhow. Or when they come up, I'm like, man, I love that fail. So there's one where they're doing Jeopardy, and the lady. This is a little bit risque, but so Alex Trebek,
yeah.
So Alex Trebek comes up and he starts to say hello to to the lady. I'm sorry, she comes up, and so tell us about yourself. And she says something to the effect that, I just got married, or no, I'm getting married, and No, she said I just got married and came back from my honeymoon. Um, it didn't. She said something to the effect of it didn't. We wanted it to snow, but it didn't snow on our honeymoon. But in the morning, I got 7 inches. She said.
Yeah. I have seen that one. I've fallen down that rabbit hole too.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, there are so many different rabbit holes. It's not even funny. Man, I am so frozen up right now. Or am I back?
No, you're back.
I'm back. Okay, fine. Yeah, I have fallen down that rabbit hole as well. There is a new to me anyway, genre of YouTube videos now where people and this is just silly. Talk about how social media has changed our life. These people go on Reddit and they find stories from other people. They didn't even write the story. They have people write stories about their experience with other people. And on their videos, what they do is they read the story. That's all they do. They'll read the story on video, and all you see is words scrolling up the screen. And that's it. And these things are getting thousands of views.
Amazing.
But some of them are actually pretty fun stories. Some of them are kind of hokey, but where people get mistaken, somebody will come up and start talking to you like you work in a particular store or what have you. Hey, where do I find this? I don't know. I don't work here. Sure you do. Just help me out here. No, I don't work here. I mean, I'm not dressed to, well, I just saw you doing this, that, or the other. Well, yeah, I was helping that person. I don't work here. I don't know where that is. Don't lie to me. And, just a whole bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's addictive.
Have you ever been stopped at a store or like you're in a store and you're not even wearing the freaking clothes of the store and they ask you for like, oh, sir, where do we find this, and that? Or what stores?
I was stopped. Okay, now, this was when I was working as a slot machine mechanic. I was driving a route, working on slot machines in bars and gas stations, convenience stores, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a uniform. It was the old mission linen uniform. Probably shouldn't have used a brand name, but there you go. Blue pants and a blue and white pinstripe shirt with a name tag on it that had the name of the company and then my name embroidered into it. I'm wearing a baseball cap with the company logo on it. But I also have on a two-way radio, a big belt, a big old wad of keys. And I went into Home Depot to look for something. I don't even remember what it was. And I'm standing there looking down the aisle, and I had 2 people walk up and ask me, where would I find this? I'm like, I don't know. I don't work here. And the one guy, he looked at me, and then he looked up at my hat, and he went, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you did. And, no problem. And off he went. This older lady came up to me. She was in her 60s. And she just started, we were looking at somebody. I don't remember, now I need to do this. So how would I do X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm not a contractor. I said, if it were me doing it, I would probably do this, this, and this. And she kind of looked at me funny. And then she saw the hat and she says, I'm sorry. I thought you worked here. And I said, no, I don't. I'm real sorry. I said, well, still, if I was going to do it, I would do this, this, and this, but that may or may not be the right way to go for you. She's like, okay, well, thank you very much, young man. And off she went, find somebody who did actually work there.
That's funny.
That's the only time that I've ever been stopped and, mistaken for working somewhere that I haven't.
I get that, or I've gotten that at Home Depot. Mm-hmm. And mind you, I'm not dressed. I mean, I can't even think of how I know they wear aprons. Yeah. Orange aprons. But yeah. I've been stopped multiple times at Home Depot in various different aisles. And you could look back into, I'd be there helping the person out, and they still don't realize that I don't work there. but they'll ask a question. Oh, this wax, like, the paste wax, and say, oh yeah, you could use that, but that can is going to last you a very long time, and this and that, and they just keep going, and I was even one time. It's funny thing. The manager reached out and said, "Hey man," well, no, he didn't. He didn't say, "Hey man, get back to work." He didn't do that, but he saw me. I don't know if he had seen me before, and he said, "Hey man, you want a job?" And I was like, "Oh no, thanks, man, I'm okay." A few years back, and it's a funny thing. Yeah, it's almost like Home Depot might be my calling, Mark.
Maybe. I mean, well, Home Depot for me is about I got to get on the freeway and go down to two towns over, but I pass Lowe's on the way by, so I go into Lowe's, and I know that store like the back of my hand, and it's 3 miles down the road from me. So I go in, I get what I want, and I get out. So I don't wait. I put blinders on, man. I don't see nothing. I don't see nobody. I don't hear nothing. I just grab what I need and I go. So maybe that's what it is. I'm here to get what I need to get. I'm not here to have a conversation. So.
And then we have the situation. I don't know why we're going into this, but I just find it absurdity, or what's the word? We'll just say absurdity for now, but there's another word I'm thinking of that I can't quite grab from my memory banks. Situations that are weird and funky. There's a word for that. In any event, what's that?
Surreal. Well,
surreal is there. Not redundant. What's the word?
Ridiculous.
They're definitely ridiculous. But like, man, I don't know what it is, but I'll go when I'm shopping. And I swear to you, when you wait in those lines, the person in front of you decides always. I don't know if this happens in other, because Miami has a particular thing. I don't know if it's a Miami thing, but they'll start up a conversation with the cashier, regardless that there's a freaking line right behind you. And they're sitting there and saying, like, oh, you have 2 kids. Oh, my goodness. And I'm like, how is that relevant to our current situation?
It's people being friendly. It happens here too. And I tell people that constantly. Do never ask a store clerk how they're doing, because they will tell you, and there's no such thing as a short story in this valley. They will do it.
Regardless of how many people are waiting in the back.
It don't matter. There are a couple of clerks that when I see they're behind the register, I will go use self-checkout, because I will not get in line if they're on the register.
Right, because
Well, because one of them, she will actually stop what she's doing, fold her arms, and talk. She's
That's
like,
a bad sign, by the way.
Like, well, I'm here for 8 hours. You might as well be too, But she'll stop what she's doing and fold her arms and just have a conversation with the person, just, and then, kind of scan an item or two, and then, talk. Shake a stalk of celery for emphasis or something like that, and put it on the scale. And oh yeah, well, I know exactly what you mean by that. Oh, that's number 3204. And it's just like, what is this? A social hour or what? But
oh man,
most of the time I can get in and out fairly quickly. But there's 2 clerks at our local Wally World that if I see them behind the register, nah, I'm gone. No thanks. Count me out.
Dude. Oh yeah.
Don't have time to play. Now, but I will start a conversation with the guy behind me or in front of me in line.
Oh yeah.
If something goofy happens, I'll talk about it.
Or how about the guy in front of you or behind you that's pissed off, maybe more than you, because the line's not moving. And they'll start that conversation and say something like, "Can you believe this?
Yeah.
Can you believe these people?" Like, has that happened to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, these are actual things that occur. And I'm going to tell you right now, the main objective of that cashier is move along, give me some money, move along. Your stuff is packed. That's their prerogative. Not. And the in-between stuff that's like the human stuff, I understand that, but other people got to get out of there too.
Yeah. But my father was a retail clerk for years and years. I mean, he worked grocery business most of his life. So I can see the boredom and the tedium from the other side, because you got an endless parade of people coming and going, and if all you do is run stuff over a scanner, you're basically a machine. You're there because they haven't developed a machine that will grab an artichoke, weigh it, and punch in the right number and put it in a bag. You know, that's why you're there. So they have to amuse themselves somehow. Now, you got to be conscientious, yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, he's the one that turned me on to the cashier's game. And it's basically what you do is you look at the basket in front of you or behind you, either one. But cashiers do this all the time. They will look at the basket and try to figure out what the person came in for and what was the impulse buy.
Yeah.
They've only got a few items, you know? So you got a guy that walks up and he puts them up on the belt, and he's got, a box of Wheaties, a fifth of vodka, and a lawn chair.
Yeah.
What did you come into the store for, and what was the impulse buy?
Which of these items do not fit,
Exactly. It's like duct tape and chloroform. Oh, I don't know, man. Should I call the cops?
There are combinations of items that people buy that do bring questions up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I had a situation because I was a clerk at a place called Lecter's. It was a German company, according to what I know, and they branched all across I know they were even on the West Coast, at least in California.
Lecter's, yeah.
Lecter's, housewares and all that.
Yeah.
And I was a young kid back then. We wore a red apron with white dress-up shirt and stuff. That was the whole style. It was like we were high-end housewares associates, as it were. And I remember there was a lot of encounters, but I remember one encounter with a lady. And I don't know what the transaction was, but I remember what she said. And I had asked her a question, and I remember I'm a young kid. And she used a word that I had never heard before. And she did this. She goes, I said, "Ma'am, would you like so and so and so and so?" And she says, "Oh, I'm ambivalent about it." And I'm a young kid, and I looked at her, and I stopped talking for a moment, and she leaned forward a little bit, and I looked at her, and I leaned a little bit, and she just waited she waited to see me say, "Ma'am, what's ambivalent? What do you mean, ma'am?" or something like that. And I didn't give her the pleasure, and I said, "Oh, okay," and I just kept doing what I kept doing. But she knew, she's an older lady. She knew that she took me for a ride on that one.
Yeah.
I didn't know what ambivalent, but guess what? That lady taught me the definition of ambivalent.
You had to go look it up. Yeah.
And I haven't forgot till this day.
Are you ambivalent? Well, yes and no. But yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I worked when I was 16 years old. One of the jobs I had was in a hardware store. And I found there were 3 types of customers we had. One was the guy who knew exactly what he wanted, knew where it was, and he went and got it and went to the register. There was the guy or the woman who knew what they wanted, but maybe needed help finding the right aisle.
Right.
Then there was usually the woman who had no clue what she was looking for. 99 times out of 100, they were in plumbing or electrical. And I always had this mental image where a woman comes in with a piece of paper and she's looking for a faucet, an inline valve. And she doesn't know what it is. Her husband sent her down to get it. She has no clue where to go. She knows it's in plumbing. That's all. I always had this mental image of some guy in a basement holding onto a pipe, spraying water, screaming, "Hurry up! Hurry up!"
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
that happens a lot too.
Yeah. It's just like, guys, go to the hardware store yourself, you know? So,
Oh, just a minute. The ladies in line,
mhm.
whoever, and oh, I forgot something from that aisle. Can I go real quick? And the cashier's, yeah, sure. And there's a long line behind, and she leaves.
Mhm.
Those kind of situations. Because what do you tell you? I mean, the correct thing to say, it's a difficult thing for a cashier to
Yeah.
say, no, you can't do that because you're gonna piss her off.
Yeah, and it is one of those things. I mean, you're sitting there with half a basket of groceries, and the lady from the over in the 20 items or less aisle says, "Come on over here. There ain't nobody in line."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, fine. And the next thing you know, you've got 11 people behind you, and each one of them standing there with one thing, and you feel like a real moron. But whatever. It's
Well,
just one of those things.
there's one last situation, although there's more, but
Well, of course.
that you have a line
Mhm.
that just lit up, like, oh, accepting,
Mhm.
people here, and
Mhm.
you'll see all the carts aiming towards it, and you'll see people that are pushing their carts slightly faster,
Mhm.
and others that, like me, I don't play that game. I just, if I'm far away, if I can make it, I'm not gonna go because that's unbecoming. But there's people that are accelerating, and
Oh, yeah,
there's some that aren't even accelerating. They're gonna win this race.
that's it.
And so yeah, and so you see the different person, and it all depends on what their state is at the time. But yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, dude, we will get ours, and we will trample, no pun intended, to get there.
Oh, yeah. They don't quite break into a run, but they get real close.
Mm-hmm. Oh
and
yeah,
and if it comes down to it, kind of lock the arms and push the cart out so they can nose it in just in front of the other guy heading for it. Then they'd catch up to it.
but I hate. See, this is something that I don't know if you guys get, but I hate people that bump into you,
Mhm.
and that happens a lot in Miami. I don't. Maybe it's because there's not as much space, but I doubt it, dude. I have at least a few feet, not even 1 foot,
Mhm.
of personal space that I offer other people. I do not encroach. So
Mhm.
there's like a little, you know what I'm saying? And there's when you're going down the aisle and another person's coming down the aisle, and they're hogging the aisle at the supermarket. You either crash into the aisle, letting all the bottles and stuff fall on you so that they can, because they're driving like they own the road, or you freeze stop and make them stop, which I began to do a while back. I'll
Break,
cold
break
stop.
checking in the supermarket, huh?
Oh yeah, I'll cold stop. Because where do you want me to go? You want me to grab the cart, throw it over into the next aisle so you can drive by? So
Mhm.
I'll cold stop, and they'll cold stop, and we've just had a freaking Mexican standoff. And it's like, and then they realize, but yeah, I don't play that game anymore. I guess that comes with wisdom. I'm not going to be jumping on the aisle and being crushed up. No way. And these are, by the way, these are old ladies. Maybe the problem is me, but I don't think so. They are vicious, those old ladies.
Oh, I know. I worked in casinos for 15 years. I know they're vicious. Boy, you want to see a sweet little old lady turn into a combination of a samurai warrior and the abominable snowman. Just reach out like you're going to touch one of her slot machines that she's playing.
Mm.
Oh my God, you'll draw back a bloody stump.
Well, because they can sit in one and play another one, or they can. How
Oh,
many
yeah.
can they play?
It depends on the casino. Back when it was coin in and coin out, especially at this one casino up in Reno, you'd have you'd have one woman playing a whole row of 8 or 10 machines. just walking down the aisle, putting coins in them and pulling the handles and coming back through. And I mean, a woman on a mission, man.
That's dedication.
And if you walk up and you stop for any length of time, I'm playing that machine. Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Off you go.
Well, good luck to her.
Yeah. They are territorial, and they defend their territory. I'm here to tell you.
Oh, man. Well, I worked the casino too, so I know a little bit about that. So I did see that, just not at that extreme.
Oh boy. Yep. And I mean, so long as they're they're buying $100 racks of silver dollar coins. So long as they keep dropping them in the machines, casino lets them do it. They don't care about the guy that walks up and puts $2 or $3 in. They want the people who keep feeding those machines, boy.
Oh yeah.
They'll let them do it. But yeah, that was an eye-opening career. So I froze up again.
Just a little bit. That's fine. We have to figure out what it is. I think it's in software.
It would have to be. I mean, I can't figure out what's going on. I've got every extension on my browser shut off. I can't figure it out, man. I'm hardwired in and everything. Oh, well, a little behind baseball or inside baseball, behind the scenes talk here. I can't figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that's fine. So what else has been new on your end?
Oh man, just working. And that's about all. Just working my tail off. But I have been playing around with and doing a little bit of updating on the Trampled Underfoot website. See how I did that?
Yeah, nice.
I finally figured out the proper image sizes, because before folks would go to our website and they'd see about half of the artwork that you do for each and every episode, and they would only see about half of it. Well, I finally figured out how to bring up that Spreaker podcast player, the audio player.
Okay.
And they see the entire image. See, the image is the background for their audio player. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a quick way to find it. That is, go to our website, trampledunderfootpodcast.com. Right there on the front page, look at that gorgeous artwork Eloy does each and every one for every episode.
I appreciate that. There's also a Facebook page, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew that, but if you have ideas, questions, comments, you like the topic, you don't like it, we'd like you to give us some feedback, and you could do that over there as well. So you can find us at Trampled Underfoot Podcast on Facebook.
Right.
And I think, where else can you find us? Oh, yeah. Here on YouTube, for you guys listening, come join us every Tuesday night at 9:30 Eastern. And what would that be, West Coast?
That would be 6:30 Pacific time. We record on Tuesday nights live on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and look for Trampled Underfoot Podcast on YouTube. And we come in, we spend about an hour, we hoot and holler with the guys over in the live chat, like Frankie CNC and Woodworking Channel, or Jim Dockrell, or Steve Nealon, webmaster to the stars over there at Harnail Media, Mr. Barry Curtis in the house, and we just give it a good go.
Wow, we did that smoother than a Johnny Walker with 2 ice cubes and a glass cup.
Only 2 ice cubes?
3 would be optimal, but there's
yeah.
always room for improvement. Wow.
Exactly.
We actually did that pretty damn good.
Don't try this at home. We're trained podcast professionals. Well, I think that we about covered it, didn't we?
Oh yeah. I think it was great. Boy, we went on solo, right?
Yeah. We never even got to the topic we were talking about. It's okay. There's always next week.
All right, guys. Catch you next time.
Thank you very much for hanging with us. Y'all have a good evening.